Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. As a highly action-packed gaming franchise that's been famous for over 4 decades, Castlevania features a plethora of captivating and one-of-a-kind characters, irrespective of their roles as a hero or a villain. But ever since the Netflix adaptation surfaced, the central trio of the series has managed to overshadow almost every overarching character from the games, due to their own eccentric charms. In particular, the resident sorceress of the trio, Sypha Belnades, is a character surely not to be underestimated, even when compared to her powerhouse companions. While Alucard and Trevor surely have their own quirks, we can definitely agree that without Sypha, the show just wouldn't hold the same gravitas. If you didn't know, Sypha is a returning protagonist from Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, setting her apart from Grant, who sadly didn't make it to the animated series. In the gaming series, the heroes were originally a part of 4, and Grant, a character who transitioned from a foe to a protagonist, played a crucial role in their adventures. The difference in character adaptation really makes us stop and think about Warren Ellis's creative and directional choices in adapting the source material for the show. As you know, Sypha's portrayal in the Netflix series follows a similar blueprint to the other characters, encompassing elements from her gaming counterpart, including her appearance, personality, origins, and overall abilities. While the Netflix series doesn't precisely mirror the events of the gaming lore it was adapted from, the show introduces quite a few interesting twists and changes to differentiate Sypha and her subsequent lore. It's intriguing to note how the creator's portrayal of Sypha in the series sets her apart from the other main characters, as we see a woman who is soft, feminine, and kind, while being one of the most powerful wielders of magic in the series. In this video, we'll cover the character of Sypha Belnades right from her gaming lore to the Castlevania animated series. So, without wasting another moment, let's get right to it. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Sypha Belnades? How did she fulfill the prophecy? As many of you know, Sypha's introduction in the show faithfully mirrors her initial meeting with Trevor in the Castlevania 3 gaming lore. In the late 15th century, within the city of Grezhit, Sypha and her fellow speakers faced unjust accusations from the church, which wrongly blamed them for the attacks carried out by Dracula's night army upon the townspeople. But despite enduring constant persecution, they chose to remain in the city, offering their assistance to those in need. During this time, Sypha also honed her mastery of elemental magic. It was the year 1476 when Sypha embarked on a daring solo expedition into the city's catacombs with the mission to locate the elusive Sleeping Soldier, prophesied to be humanity's savior against Lord Dracula's tyranny. But while venturing deep into the catacombs, Sypha was ambushed by a menacing Cyclops that turned her into stone. Lucky for her, our favorite Belmont was in town and didn't miss out on the chance to come to her rescue. Well, Trevor didn't really know what to expect either, because the speakers assumed Sypha to be dead and simply wanted to find out what exactly happened to her. So, the speaker elder asked Trevor to retrieve her, or the group wouldn't leave Grezhit, even if it meant being killed by the church. The Belmont went into the catacombs and the Cyclops ambushed him too, but he knew how to subdue the monster. With the beast now dead, Sypha was now freed from her petrified imprisonment. Following her revival after the Cyclops' demise, it's logical that she'd experience physical distress as her organs abruptly shift from a solid to a more protoplasmic state. Despite this disorienting experience, she remains composed and committed to her mission. Initially, Sypha didn't warm up to Trevor due to his seemingly aloof personality. She insisted on continuing her quest to find the Sleeping Soldier, but Trevor strongly disagreed, citing the dangers posed by the catacombs monsters and traps. Naturally, they didn't start off on the right foot, but Sypha is consistently seen taking the higher road, even in cases of differing opinions. It was after she learned that her grandfather thought her to be dead, Sypha reluctantly agreed to return back to the speakers. Upon their return to the city, Sypha offered her apologies to her grandfather for her inability to locate prophesied savior. Nevertheless, she continued to clash with Trevor over the existence and significance of the Sleeping Soldier. While Sypha believed that the catacombs were guarded by monsters to protect something vital, Trevor argued that they were actually a section of Dracula's notorious castle. As the day neared its end, the speakers received distressing news from Trevor, who pleaded with them to leave the city and hide, as the church had marked them for execution at the bishop's command. But Sypha and her grandfather staunchly refused, determined to aid the people of Grezhit, even if it meant sacrificing their lives. Now, we witness Sypha's mature and selfless approach in almost every bit of the series, which is indicative of her speaker culture, emphasizing nurture and empathy in service of humanity, much like monks. This portrayal underscores the contrast between the speakers and the potentially immoral church in this interpretation of the Castlevania series, as Warren Ellis cleverly incorporates elements from her monk background from the games into the speaker's culture. Additionally, the show acknowledges how Sypha disguises her gender with her attire to protect female members of the speaker clan while traveling, mirroring her in-game character, who posed as a man to move about without suspicion. This tactic stems from the tragic history of a woman named Lisa, brutally executed for being suspected of witchcraft. Lisa was indeed Dracula's wife, and it was her death that ignited the war against humanity. Anyways, when the speaker refused to leave, Trevor concealed them in the same catacombs and left to confront the enraged mob, who were now all jacked up with torches and pitchforks, waiting for the speaker group to come out of their abode. Trevor beat up 2 representatives from the church and then confronted the townspeople on the church's illicit aggressions. But as usual, the narrow-minded mob didn't hear a word he said as soon as they realized he was a Belmont and proceeded to attack him. This is when Cypher emerges as the embodiment of hope and light amidst the darkness in the series, as she leaves the catacombs behind and makes a dramatic appearance using her magical prowess for the very first time in the show in order to assist Trevor. Cypher used her powers to create a fiery wall to shield Trevor and give him the time to actually convey his truth to the townspeople. When the people mistake her for a witch, Cypher introduces herself as a speaker magician who only wants to help the people of this town. Finally, they manage to persuade the townsfolk that the true culprits behind the monstrous attacks were the bishop and his cohorts from the church. Naturally, the enraged mob turned against the leader of the priests and rallied under his banner when Dracula's abominable minions attacked them. While Trevor rallied the townspeople to fight these night creatures, Cypher utilized her magic to imprison the monsters within icy walls and skewer them with ice shards. Together, they confronted and vanquished these creatures, including a menacing night creature named Blue Fangs. However, their triumph came at a cost, as the ground beneath them grew unstable, cracking open and causing Trevor and Cypher to plummet deeper into the catacombs, far below where they'd initially started their journey. Navigating the treacherous catacombs, Trevor and Cypher eventually stumbled upon a mysterious coffin, and in a tense moment of uncertainty, Trevor was convinced that this was Dracula himself, while Cypher held firm in her belief that this figure was the rumored sleeping soldier. Now, it should be noted that despite her trying experiences, Cypher remains unwavering in her belief in the legend of the sleeping soldier. Her persistence is justified as the booby traps they encounter in the catacombs indeed signify the presence of something significant worth safeguarding. Anyways, as they went deeper, the duo stumbled upon a mysterious coffin as a man with long golden hair rose before them. Cypher believed him to be the long-sought sleeping savior, while Trevor hastily labeled him as Dracula and engaged him in combat without paying heed to Cypher's objections. When the confrontation concluded with the Dhampir preparing to bite Trevor, Cypher finally used her magic to threaten him, then went on to serve as the voice of reason, mediating a potentially lethal confrontation between the sleeping soldier and the hunter. To their mutual surprise, the Dhampir refrained from harming Trevor and introduced himself as Alucard. He clarified that he'd been waiting in the catacombs for a hunter and a scholar. This is when Cypher disclosed that her grandfather had gone to great lengths to prevent Trevor from leaving the city in accordance with the prophecy foretold by the speakers. Soon, Cypher departs from her speaker tribe to join Trevor and Alucard, which leaves her feeling sad and isolated. This is when her role as a beacon of hope shines out, because it was her unwavering determination that brought out the whole team together. In a way, it could be said that Cypher was the glue needed to keep Alucard and Trevor focused on their mission. With a common goal of defeating Dracula, the trio finally joined forces and set off on their journey to take down the dark vampire lord before he could eliminate mankind from the surface of the earth. How did Cypher take Dracula down alongside Trevor and Alucard? After parting ways with the speakers at the gates of Grezhit, the trio discusses the gravity of their mission to defeat Dracula. This is when Cypher and Trevor turn to Alucard for critical information, who imparts crucial knowledge about Dracula's ability to teleport his castle. Alucard provides vital insight into the mechanics of how Dracula's castle has the ability to shift from one location to another, leading the trio to the realization that they must find a way to anchor the castle in place for their impending attack. This is when Trevor proposes the trio to take a trip to the Belmont estate, as it's a repository of invaluable knowledge and artifacts amassed over the generations during the Belmont family's relentless battle against monsters. He believes that the answers they seek may be hidden within the vaults of the estate. Setting out on their journey, Cypher's camaraderie with Trevor eventually grew, even if her interactions with Alucard were mostly limited or friendly. Anyways, Cypher locates a covered wagon for their journey, and the group departs from Grezhit. However, their road to the Belmont estate is marred by a demon attack, and this is also the first time we see the trio together in action as they effectively deal with the demonic assailants, except for one heavily wounded demon who manages to escape. Upon reaching the Belmont estate, Cypher employs her magical talents to access a concealed doorway leading to an underground vault which reveals a treasure trove of information and equipment, greatly impressing Trevor, although Alucard is seemingly disturbed by a collection of vampire skulls that paints a grim picture of the Belmont family's relentless pursuit of his kind. While sorting through the relics of the vast archives within the Belmont hold, Cypher bonds with Trevor over his his family's history and gains insights into Alucard's demeanor. Their exploration yields the discovery that a Belmont family member was in the process of crafting a locking spell to stabilize Dracula's castle and anchor it in one location. While the spell was incomplete, Cypher realized that she had the knowledge and capability to finish it. As the trio began working on their respective tasks, a horde of night creatures descended upon the estate, determined to breach the underground vault. Naturally, Trevor, Cypher, and Alucard are forced into a life-and-death struggle to repel the attacking monsters, but with little time in hand, Alucard and Cypher resume working on the spell while Trevor holds off the night creatures. By almost an inch from being attacked, Cypher successfully finishes the spell, and with Alucard's assistance in pinpointing Dracula's castle, they manage to transport it into the vicinity of the ruins of the Belmont mansion. With Dracula's castle now within reach, Cypher, Trevor, and Alucard launch an assault on it, dispatching all the vampires dwelling within. They ultimately confront Dracula himself, putting up a valiant fight. However, Dracula proves to be a powerful adversary, forcing Alucard to engage his father in a fierce battle that spans the castle's expanse. Now, as the confrontation reaches its zenith, Dracula's indomitable resolve begins to crumble when they arrive at Alucard's childhood room. Overwhelmed by a complex mix of emotions, Dracula realizes that he's become the very thing Lisa would have detested and permits his son to impale him with a wooden stake through the heart. Soon, Cypher and Trevor arrive to assist Alucard in the room, sealing Dracula's fate as Trevor beheads Dracula and Cypher uses her magic to incinerate his remains to ashes, ensuring his permanent demise. With Dracula's reign of terror coming to a brisk end and the trio's mission accomplished, Trevor, recognizing the importance of the Belmont estate, entrusts its stewardship to Alucard, who had previously contemplated ending his own life. Cypher, however, fueled by her adventurous spirit, intended to set off in search of the Speakers, eager to share her story and continue her quest in the world. Recognizing that Dracula's army remains a threat, she believes she's finally discovered her true calling and persuades Trevor to continue their shared adventures, firmly believing that Trevor's destiny lies in the ongoing battle against evil. Trevor agrees, and together they bid farewell to Alucard, venturing forth in pursuit of new adventures. Overall, Cypher consistently proves herself as a resourceful member of the group, always seeking ways to propel their mission forward. Whether it's locating a caravan for travel, using her magical abilities to ignite torches in the library, employing the mystical mirror, or even simply conjuring ice to escape a predicament, she plays a vital role in overcoming obstacles and challenges. Despite the narrative's focus on the last Belmont and the son of Dracula as pivotal figures in the main mission, it's evident that the collective skills and advantages brought by the Speaker culture play a significant role in shaping the course of events for the better, and of course Cypher's contributions are undeniable, making her a key player in the team's journey towards success. Cypher Belnades' adventures after Dracula's demise. Season 3 of the Castlevania animated series mostly covered the devastation that the aftermath of Dracula's death brought about in all of Wallachia, but the focus here was a rather unconventional journey for Cypher, as she traverses the countryside alongside Trevor, dedicating months to pursue the rest of the night creatures. Now, after her active participation in incinerating Dracula, Cypher's evolved into a somewhat self-assured and even slightly obnoxious individual, which we do understand is not entirely without reason. Having played a pivotal role in eliminating the most significant threat to humanity, it's only natural that she might strut with a sense of accomplishment. However, this in no way served as an excuse for an inflated ego, particularly when it came to her intimate relationship with Trevor. After Dracula's demise, Cypher's connection with Trevor experiences rapid and profound growth. She begins to cherish his occasional kind gestures and relishes playfully teasing him. Over time, she comes to the realization that meeting Trevor has indeed opened up a world of fresh experiences, adventures, and a profound sense of purpose for her. So, as the dust settles after the war against Dracula, Cypher finds herself yearning for more and extends an invitation for him to be her partner, to which Trevor readily agrees. He acknowledges the closeness they share and the positive impact their partnership has had on his life since their first meeting. Naturally, Cypher revels in her newfound life as an adventuring hero alongside Trevor, and irrespective of everything else, they did make a compatible couple. Nevertheless, she did occasionally find herself frustrated with his attitude, which was really a minor hiccup in an otherwise fulfilling partnership. Throughout the show, we witness their relationship beautifully unfold over time, beginning with their initial clashes in Season 1 as their personalities repel each other. Yet, it gradually transforms into mutual admiration by the season's end. Throughout Season 2, Cypher persistently prods Trevor to open up, and they gradually warm to one another, illustrating that opposites can indeed attract. This dynamic contrasts with the expectation that she might be drawn to someone like Alucard, who possesses attributes such as handsomeness, a refined sense of style, resources, and emotional intelligence. Instead, she falls for Trevor, an emotionally distant, cynical individual with a dark sense of humor, questionable hygiene, and a penchant for alcohol. The relationship seems to revolve around her enthusiastic effort to reform Trevor, while they embark on adventures to safeguard Wallachia from lingering night creatures. Even if it was done unconsciously, she leverages Trevor for her own ulterior motives. Cypher simply discarded the option to part ways after Dracula's demise or return back to her speaker tribe in favor of asserting her own independence. Her persuasion of Trevor to accompany her on escapades creates a form of codependency where he often seems to have very little say in their decisions, actions, and/or even destinations. Cypher also goes on to project her insecurities onto Trevor, like we saw when Trevor compared a tall glass of beer to be better than sex with her, which immediately ticked her off, causing her to freeze the beer. Now, no doubt this was a very small incident, but it does say a lot about Cypher, and because of Trevor's own personality and wit, he hardly helped her recognize her own shortcomings either. Cypher's realization of her impulsive actions finally occurs following a failed mission in Lindenfeld, where her admiration for the judge and the excitement of the new environment overshadow a dark secret that comes to light at the season's end. This revelation flips her worldview of the supposedly harmless humans she's committed to serving and protecting. In the town of Lindenfeld, Cypher and Trevor offer their services to the townspeople and form an alliance with the town's judge. Although Trevor wanted to get some sort of benefit out of risking their lives killing monsters, Cypher was a little hesitant about it because her main aim has always been helping the people. But when Trevor reasons with her that nobody would feed them or give them a place to live for free, she finally agrees. This season mostly showcased Trevor's willingness to go along with Cypher's vision, which is evidently motivated by a deep desire to please her. She inherently dominated their course of action through Lindenfeld, leaving Trevor a bit discontent from time to time. Anyway, soon they come across a mysterious scholar, an alchemist named Saint Germain, who showed an uncanny interest in the priory, which was owned by creepy monks of the town. They mostly kept to themselves and somehow even justified Dracula's reign of terror. Saint Germain initially believed that the priory had an opening to the infinite corridor, but upon looking around, he realized that the monks held a night creature captive in the basement. Horrified, he went to Trevor and Cypher, and together they delved deeper into their investigative work, finally uncovering a sinister plot by the monks to open a portal to hell. As Trevor and Cypher team up with Saint Germain and the judge to confront the monks of the priory and the night creatures, they ultimately prevent the demon's nefarious plans to resurrect Dracula. It takes Saint Germain to sacrifice himself inside the infinite corridor and seal it, causing an end to this menace. Just when Trevor and Cypher thought that the worst was behind them, they stumbled upon a shocking revelation. The judge, who had presented himself as a benevolent leader, had concealed dark secrets from the town and had confessed to his gruesome pleasures right before his death, which included the murder of children in a manner similar to how he orchestrated the death of the leader of the monks. Now, initially, Trevor had suspected that something was off with the judge, but Cypher was quick to dismiss that, given her trusting and benevolent nature, which sometimes makes her strong-headed. But this man was unbelievably twisted, as he begged Cypher to burn down his house to get rid of the evidence that would connect him to the missing children in Lindenfeld. He literally lured these kids near an apple tree, only to lead them to fall to their death on a bed of pikes. The judge even collected their little shoes as souvenirs of his accomplishment and locked them in a room, which explains why he'd asked Trevor and Cypher to leave no evidence behind. As the town of Lindenfeld is left in ruins, consumed by the chaos, this grim discovery marks a turning point. Trevor acknowledges the passage of their adventure, highlighting the need to shift from living Cypher's vision and embracing his own viewpoint. Throughout the majority of Season 4, Trevor and Cypher find themselves deeply engrossed in what Trevor described as his way of life. They're immersed in the land of Wallachia, functioning as seasoned monster hunters, fronting a relentless parade of nightmarish adversaries who sympathize with death and are trying to resurrect Dracula by any possible means. But this array of horrors takes a heavy toll on their spirits. Even Cypher's usually cheerful and light-hearted demeanor begins to sour under the unrelenting strain of having to fight a band of monsters every night. Both of them seem to get into frequent arguments as they're seemingly exhausted from continuously fighting to thwart uprisings that hint toward Dracula's resurrection. Now, Season 4 picks up with an overwhelming sense of hopelessness and mental exhaustion affecting our characters, particularly Cypher. While Trevor appears to thrive in the grim atmosphere, Cypher is gradually losing her composure and making uncharacteristic mistakes during confrontations against monsters. She finds herself cursing and throwing tantrums, a far cry from her usual composed self. To make matters worse, she attributes this behavior to her only outlet, Trevor, but it is possible that Cypher had already conceived by then, which would explain her outbursts. Over a 6-week period of non-stop battles, traveling from town to town and uncovering a sinister scheme to resurrect Dracula, Cypher's mental and emotional state deteriorates further. She vacillates between 0 to 100, cycling through feelings of melancholy, impulsiveness, contentment, and outbursts of anger. Their relentless journey eventually leads them to Targovist, where they arrive in an utterly depleted state, teetering on the brink of exhaustion. After witnessing the dire condition of the city in daylight, Trevor proceeds to have a stern discussion, urging Cypher to revise their approach. He encourages her to use her abilities as a speaker to provide hope and assistance to the downtrodden. Cypher, reigniting her passion and dedication, takes up the mantle of nurturing and begins the work of restoring a sense of community and averting disease and starvation in Targovist. Their efforts lead them to Zamfir, who provides aid and insights about the city's current state. When Cypher threatens Zamfir to take them to the underground court where apparently the royalty is hiding in safety, soon they learn that Zamfir is in denial of the royalty being dead in Targovist and is hopelessly waiting for them to magically come back to life, even when she refuses to see reason. Cypher, embodying the speaker's compassion, hopes to assist her in recovering her state of mind rather than chastising Zamfir. But their peaceful moment is disrupted when Ratko and Varney launch an attack. While defending herself against the night creatures, Cypher overhears Varney revealing his plan to resurrect Dracula, setting the stage for the series of events that follows. After taking down Ratko and his troop of night creatures, Trevor and Cypher go in search of Varney, who's already jumped through a transfer mirror into Dracula's castle. Naturally, the duo also goes through the transfer mirror that transports them back to Dracula's castle, where they reunite with Alucard. A series of battles follow as the trio face off against the cult of Dracula in the form of mini-bosses, the dungeon boss and his accompanying adversaries. Soon, Cypher and the others find out that Death is exploiting Saint Germain to resurrect Dracula in the undead body of a golem, so Death could feast on the massacre Dracula would cause and become the most powerful entity in the entire planet. This was necessarily Trevor's moment to shine as he thwarts Death's plan and then goes on to fight the entity after professing his love for Cypher. However, she's forced to witness the man she fell in love with to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. This is also the moment when Cypher discovers she's pregnant and eventually realizes that she must come to terms with the fact that the father of her child is now gone. Although Alucard attempts to console her, she remains determined to press forward. 2 weeks later, she emerges from her self-imposed silence and reflects on her situation. Determined to move on, Cypher seeks to get back to her speaker clan and get the necessary help needed for the birth of her child. Eventually, Greta and Alucard manage to convince her to stay and help organize the community they want to build in Trevor's honor. As they discuss the idea of naming their new village Belmont, a horse arrives carrying a hooded man slung over the saddle. When Cypher and Alucard rush to the horse, they discover that the rider is none other than a very beat-up Trevor, who reveals that after stabbing Death in the head, Saint Germain opened the infinite corridor and placed him inside, thereby shielding him from annihilation. The sight of Trevor's face immediately brings back a glimmer of happiness into her life, and thus our protagonist receives her happily ever after. Cypher Belnades' gaming history in the Castlevania franchise. Now that we've fully covered Cypher's backstory adapted within Netflix's animated series, let's take a look at her origin featured in the gaming history of the Castlevania franchise. Cypher Belnades in Castlevania III: Dracula's Curse. In the year 1476, Wallachia fell into turmoil as monstrous creatures, previously relegated to legends, began appearing in populated areas. These creatures were believed to be under the command of Lord Dracula. This dire situation prompted the Eastern Orthodox Church to recruit a special team to locate and vanquish him. Cypher played a crucial role in this church-led hunting party formed to confront Dracula. Given the fear of witches that plagued the people of Wallachia, Cypher took on the guise of a man to navigate without arousing undue suspicion. Her journey took a fateful turn when she was captured by a Cyclops and transformed into a lifeless statue, similar to her experience in the animated series. As Wallachia remained shrouded in silence, the Pope ultimately turned to the Belmont family as a final recourse, and Trevor Belmont emerged to put an end to the oppression plaguing Wallachia. Trevor's quest led him to confront the Cyclops, successfully ending its reign of terror, and in doing so, Cypher was liberated from her petrified state. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Cypher chose to join Trevor on his mission. Together with Grant Dynasty, a freedom fighter, and Alucard, Dracula's own son, these four valiant heroes embarked on their arduous journey toward Dracula's throne room. Their united efforts and determination culminated in a climactic showdown with Dracula himself. Through their combined strength, they managed to subdue the formidable adversary, and as the battle concluded, they observed Dracula's castle crumbling and descending from a nearby mountain cliff. With the castle's collapse, the monstrous horde and Dracula himself vanished, ushering in a hard-earned era of peace and tranquility for Wallachia. Cypher Belnades in Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Although Cypher herself doesn't make a physical appearance, a rather sinister representation of her takes form in the game Symphony of the Night. This macabre imitation, in the guise of a zombie, is part of a trio, with two other zombies impersonating Trevor Belmont and Grant Dynasty, who collectively serve as a formidable boss encounter in the Reverse Colosseum section of the game, designed to confound and challenge the protagonist Alucard. The same trio of zombies also return in the game Portrait of Ruin. Players encounter them within the Nest of Evil, a specialized area where they can face numerous bosses from earlier installments of the series. Cypher Belnades in Castlevania Judgment. In a complex plot orchestrated by Galamoth, a scheme is hatched to send the Time Reaper, who's at least from 10,000 years in the future, into the past with the intent of annihilating his rival, Dracula, and ultimately altering the course of history. When a vigilant individual named Aeon uncovers this malevolent plan, he takes action by gathering champions from various historical eras, pulling them into a dimensional rift. The purpose is to identify a chosen hero capable of defeating the Time Reaper. Among these warriors, Cypher is one who heeds the call. Determined and sheltered by the protective embrace of the Church, Cypher is resolute in her commitment to hunting down the forces of evil and aiding humanity, despite the ongoing oppression her fellow sisters endure. Her quest for justice carries a strong undercurrent of vengeance, with her sights set on Camilla, an antagonist who wielded influence over the minds of men and played a central role in igniting the witch trials. Cypher Belnades in Pachislot Akumaju Dracula 3. Here, Cypher assumes a supporting role as Trevor's ally, a position previously occupied by Angela in the two preceding Pachislot games, infusing the character with a new touch of feminine charm. Throughout the game, Cypher is featured in various events, including a prominent role in the Dracula battle segment, where she joins forces with Trevor and Alucard in a concerted effort to confront and combat Dracula. Additionally, Cypher appears in the cinematics that are part of the bonus mode. Cypher Belnades in Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate. Cypher makes an appearance in the second Lords of Shadow game, Mirror of Fate, where she takes on a new incarnation. This version of the character maintains certain traits from the original character, most notably the iconic blue cowl. To further connect with the original character, this incarnation is depicted as being married to Trevor Belmont, sharing his last name. In Mirror of Fate, it's revealed that Trevor and Cypher Belmont are the parents of Simon Belmont. Tragically, Trevor meets his demise while on a mission to thwart his father, Count Dracula, who was formerly known as Gabriel Belmont. Learning of Trevor's true identity as his son, Dracula, consumed by rage, unleashes a horde of monsters upon the Brotherhood stronghold, where Cypher and Simon reside. In the chaos, Cypher loses her life in the attack, and Simon, left an orphan, retreats to the mountains where he dedicates himself to rigorous training, growing strong and vowing to avenge the death of his parents. During his subsequent journeys, he encounters the soul of a spirit imprisoned within a frozen shard. To his surprise, he discovers that this spirit is his own mother, Cypher. Freed from her icy prison, Cypher becomes one of his two magic powers, aiding him on his quest for vengeance. How powerful is Cypher Belnades? It's fair to say that Cypher's portrayal in the show can be seen as a bit of a Mary Sue, but in a rather positive light. This characterization choice seems deliberate, aiming to avoid presenting her as a damsel in distress and instead position her as an equal alongside her overpowered and capable companions. Despite her age, Cypher demonstrates remarkable intelligence, a quality that rivals Dracula himself. Her extensive knowledge is a product of the speaker tradition, where centuries of wisdom are orally passed down. Plus, Cypher's adeptness in the arcane arts and her unique memory capacity, allowing her to recall and employ vast knowledge, are a testament to her scholarly nature. She always identifies herself as a magic scholar, signifying her specialization in the craft. Throughout the series, her scholarship is on full display, as she adeptly manipulates and wields the elements. Her magic is undoubtedly a powerful force, capable of harming night creatures and causing even the king of vampires to be on high alert. What sets Cypher apart is her ability to seamlessly blend both ranged and melee combat using her magic. In contrast to her game counterpart, who lacked high physical stats, Cypher in the show appears more capable and durable in these areas. What's even more intriguing is her approach to melee offense, primarily employing raw arcane energy. In addition to that, it should definitely be noted that she doesn't use traditional man-made weapons like a staff or a knife, which are common among mages, as seen in Hector or Isaac. Instead, she channels her magic through precise hand signs, akin to manipulating chakra, chi, or spiritual energy to harness the natural elements in the environment. She uses her index and middle fingers to summon fire, the index finger and the little finger for ice, and all 5 fingers when focusing on electricity. Interestingly, Cypher can also summon these elements on the fly without the need for hand signs, effortlessly hurling towers of ice hundreds of yards away, extinguishing massive flames from foes, and even halting Dracula's meteor attack in its tracks. One might wonder why she never explores the power of wind. Well, we do think she has a few tricks up her sleeve, like being able to make high jumps or cushion a fall by channeling wind, but this one simply doesn't align with her mastery over other elements. Marvelous verdict. By now, we can unanimously agree that Cypher Belnades, often portrayed as the optimist and the guiding light in the shadows, is a speaker of hope who embarks on a journey that challenges her foundational beliefs. Throughout her life, Cypher believed she knew everything there was left for her to know, but life's experiences taught her that truth comes in many forms, extending beyond mere words. Stepping out of her comfort zone becomes a transformative experience for Cypher, as it allows her to undergo significant growth in mind, body, and spirit. By venturing beyond her familiar surroundings, Cypher gains a deeper understanding of the world, realizing the importance of documenting knowledge rather than solely relying on oral tradition. This journey also provides her with the opportunity to apply her scholarly studies in practical settings, tuning her theoretical knowledge into practical wisdom. Moreover, Cypher's travels enable her to establish new relationships outside of her family, expanding her horizons and building a stronger sense of community. This newfound community becomes instrumental in her mission to safeguard the future, reinforcing her role as a speaker of hope and emphasizing her dedication to creating a better world. Cypher's journey is one of growth, self-discovery, and the pursuit of a brighter future for all, and honestly, she's the true embodiment of an empowered woman in the entire show. So, what do you think about this character? Let us know in the comment box below.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.